Well, good morning everybody. How are you doing today? It's another Tuesday tutorial, and it's a rainy day here at my super secret hideout in Windsor, Ontario, where I am practicing with a friend of mine for a showcase this weekend. I've been here before. You've seen a tutorial from this house before. Anyway, today we're going to talk about the Nashville Number System. Now, it's not as exciting as maybe play this lick here or there, but it's the foundation of just about everything that we're going to be doing, or that we are doing as we're playing music. It was invented in the 1950s by some studio musicians, and it's a way to communicate the degree of a chord in a scale without using a name. So instead of saying you're going to play an A minor chord, it would be assigned a number. And the value of this is that all songs get reduced to a simple numeric sort of series of numbers, and the key is just determined at the moment you're going to perform it. So for example, in a blues progression, you might say to somebody, it's a 1-4-5 in G. And then everybody knows exactly what the chord should be. Of course, you have to know the Nashville Number System. And it's referred to as the Nashville Number System, but really it's just a number system that works out. Now, it's very simple. It uses the major scale, which we know is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, right? Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And all the chords are built off of this major scale. So, all you have to do is write out C, D, E, F, G, A, B on a piece of paper. And I've got one here that I'm showing you here. It's not a piece of paper, but you get the point. And assign a number 1 to 7, 1 being C, 2 being D, 3 being E, 4 being F, 5 being G, 6 being A, 7 being B, and then you've got your octave C, so you're back to 1. And that brings us back to 1. Ha! Anyway, the pattern follows like this. It's C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished, and back to C. Now these are the 7 primary chords in the key of C. Now, next time you're playing with somebody in the key of C, you could tell them, well, this song uses 1-4-5 and it has a 6th chord in it. And anybody who knows the number system will know that you're referring to C, F, and G, and A minor. And so that's how it works. That's the simple form of it. Now, the key thing here is you're going to want to spend a lot of time memorizing all your keys. This is up to you. I can't give you a shortcut to knowing the keys. I also can't give you a shortcut to knowing the shapes for them. But once you work out all of the chords, in the key of C, like that, then anytime a song comes along, you know the choices. And that's essentially it. It doesn't take long to understand, but you do need to look at the hows and whys of it. The order of the chords was determined a long, long time ago by Pythagoras when he figured out the mathematical formula that is in fact music. Basically, each chord is built of what they refer to as a third sandwich, where you take one note and you skip a third. This would be so much easier if I were showing you drawing on paper. I think that's what I'm going to do. So, we have our chords written here. Now, when I go to make a chord, what I need to do is I need to start with my root note, my tonic, and I'm going to skip one note and I get the second note in my chord, and then I'm going to skip a note and get the second note in my chord. So for my C chord, that means I'm getting C, E, and G. Now if I want to do the same thing with a D, so that's now my start, I do that D to F and F to A. See how I'm skipping that one in between? So I have D, F, and A. And if I want to do E, I do E, G, and B, E to G, G to B, right? And so on. Now some of you who are more knowledgeable about theory are probably going, but how? There's information missing here. This is not working out. Some of the notes are wrong. We're going to talk about that in a second. A, C, E, and the last one is B, D, and F. Okay. Now this is where it gets a little complicated, but it's not that hard. You can get this, and you can understand it. And more importantly, you just have to accept that it's fact. C to E, the distance here, is 2 whole tones, right? Because normally there's a C sharp and a D sharp here. So that's one semitone, like a full tone, semitone, full tone. So that is a full 2 tones in between here, right? Tone, tone. Then E to G is a semitone because there was no tone between F and E and F. And then a semitone, a full tone here. So it's 1.5. This is the formula relationship of a major chord. I'll finish that so that don't get confused. Now when we look at D to F, we've got a full tone and then a half tone. So that's 1.5. And then F to A is a full tone and another full tone. So we've got our 2 tones there. And that is the formulaic relationship of a minor chord. And when we look at E to G, we have that same 1.5 relationship, right? E to F to G, 1.5. And then G to B, tone and a full tone again, 2 tones, making that a minor. We get back to F. F goes 1 tone, so we're back to 2 tones. A to C is 1 tone, and B to C we know is a semitone. There's only 1.5 there, which makes F another major chord. G, B, D, we've got G to B is 2 tones, and B to D is 1.5 again, which makes it a major chord. A to C is 1.5, and C to E is 2 tones. Now by now, you've probably noticed that that relationship inverts itself for a major and a minor chord. Now here's where things get a little more complicated, because B to D is 1.5 tones, and D to F is 1.5 tones. So that is our outlier. And that is a diminished chord. You've seen it written like that. You've seen it with a circle. That's a few different ways. What this means is that every key follows a pattern of major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, and diminished. Every key. And how this translates to being useful for you is that if I tell you to name the chords in the key of G without knowing any other theory but knowing this fact, you can go here and go G major, A minor, B minor, C major, D major, E minor, and F sharp diminished. And it is F sharp because we know that it's a full tone between E and F, and that means, or pardon me, let me say that differently. We know that it's F sharp because there is only a semitone between E and F, and in that last note there needs to be a full tone. So E to F sharp minor. And so that's the key of G. If I want you to do the same for A, what would it be? It would be A major, B minor, C sharp minor, because it's a full tone again, D major, E major, F sharp minor, and G diminished. G sharp diminished, pardon me. Anyway, so you understand that by knowing that simple formula, you get everything and all the chords you need. Now, when you reduce that to a number system, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, the 7 primary chords in any key. When you want to play a 12-bar blues, for example, and you're going to write it all out, you can literally go, okay, there's my bar measures here, and I'm going to do 3 rows of them. Instead of bothering to deal with key, which you'll need for later on, you could literally go, okay, I want to play my 1 chord through here. I want to switch to my 4 chord, back to my 1. I want to play my 5, 7, 4, and 1, and ending on my 5, 7. Oops, I used a Roman numeral. You can use Roman numerals, you can use regular numbers, just probably best not to mix them. Now, in blues, we often use the 7 chord here, so instead of it just being and if it were in the key of G, a D, it'd be a D7. But the point is, this formula here is now good for any key that you decide to play the blues in. All you have to do is tell somebody, I'm playing it in this key. So that's the Nashville Number System, and it really does make playing music a little easier, or rather it makes the communication of music between musicians a lot easier. Now it does require that everyone knows the number system and understands the basics of it, but this is useful for you too, because once you get used to this kind of a relationship on those chords and knowing that information, then learning a song in a new key becomes much easier, because you just have to listen for, is this a 4 or a 5 chord? Is this a 6 chord? Is it a 2 chord? Which I know right now, if you've never looked at it, that probably seems confusing, but trust me, it doesn't take very long to get it, and it really does simplify your communication about a key and your notation of a song, because you don't have to know all of the sharps and flats as you're writing it out. You can literally just write out numbers. Anyway, thanks for tuning in today. I hope you have a great day. I hope you spend a lot of time practicing. This is my last Patreon video on the continental North America. The next one you'll see will be coming to you from Australia. I leave on Monday next week. I'm going to try, for my patrons who are listening, I'm going to try to do a tech talk or a support video for you from the Folk Music Ontario conference that I'm at this weekend. I really don't want to promise that. I'm 60% sure I maybe won't do it, but I want to try. So I'm going to try to do that. Otherwise, look to see name posts from Australia next month. Have yourself a great day. Oh, and if you haven't checked out Patreon, I just want to send a reminder out to everyone else who is not one of my patrons that the patrons get all kinds of extra content, and they're expecting me to do all sorts of behind-the-scenes videos from Australia, from the Folk Music Ontario conference, from all over my travels. They get extra tutorials, they get all kinds of stuff. Follow the link below here and see if Patreon is something you'd be interested in. You are completely in control. You decide on an amount of money that you pay me to create these free videos that you're watching now. I only make 2 of those a month, so you're never going to get billed suddenly a lot of money. You're going to get billed for 2 videos, but then you get all this extra content on weeks that you don't see a normal video because you're not a patron. Anyway, thank you to all my patrons. Thank you for continuing to support me in my journeys around the world and in these tutorials. And look forward to seeing you all from down under.